Welcome to a special off-season edition of the Claws Out podcast. I nearly set up, Steve.
Almost set up. Yeah.
You tricked me just before we started. Special emergency edition today. I'm joined by Steve Stretton. We were going to also be joined by Gary Barnier, one of the authors of the Crawford-Barnier report, but he has had a last-minute business obligation come up that he had to go and deal with. So we'll look to get him onto the podcast soon to discuss the latest happenings around the Holman Barnes Group and the West Tigers. I'm going to throw to you straight away, Steve. It's a difficult time to be a West Tigers supporter. How are you feeling at the moment?
Mate, like every other West Tigers supporter, I suppose, I'm dejected, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, and I'm fed up. I think that probably sums up the mood of all West Tigers supporters, you know, like so much to look forward to, so much optimism in and around the playing group and the club itself and the fan base. You know, we saw enough last season to think that 26 could be a pretty good year for us. Our recruitment's good, our retention's good. Benji's got another year under his belt. He's saying all the right things. The players are buying in to what he wants, to what he's saying. Richo's running the club beautifully. There seemed to be stability. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the Holman Barnes Group throw a spanner in the works. Well, it's worse than throw a spanner. They've put the club at jeopardy, and we'll get into that, I suppose.
Well, we'll touch on that right away. So, as you said, for the first time in a long time, the club looked to be making positive ground over a number of areas. On the field, off the field, it looked like we're starting to kick goals. And then on Monday, it gets announced that the Holman Barnes Group has dismissed 4 West Tigers board members. Barry O'Farrell, who was the chairman, Michelle McDowell, who has vast experience in working with Allied Express, another independent, Charlie Viola, who is high up in finance, and Annabelle Williams, who has an immaculate sporting corporate governance record, being involved with Swimming Australia, the Australian Paralympic team at board level and chair of some of those boards. And we have the Holman Barnes Group, headed by Denny Burgess, come out on Monday and dismiss those 4 independent directors.
Yeah, and you just mentioned those 4 independents that have gone, or the chair and the independents. And you know, for the first time, when you looked at the appointment of that West Tigers board, you sat back and you thought, wow, that's been well chosen. That's been, you know, there's been a really thorough process to pick the right people with a varied skill set that's going to add so much.
So let's go through that skill set, Steve. Yeah. We had a former Premier of New South Wales as the chair. Mm-hmm. That covers all your interactions with government. That, I'm sure, helped with the stadium funding packages that we got up for both Leichhardt and Campbelltown.
Contacts, Gary, the contacts he would have.
Michelle McDowell, who I don't know a lot about, but she's got decades experience in corporate governance at Allied Express. It has to be a great skill set to bring to a club like the West Tigers.
Huge business acumen, you know, and huge experience.
And Allied Express is a company that integrates with so many other businesses. So the contacts that she would have across Western Sydney for those other businesses to tap in for sponsorship, etc., would be vast. Charlie Viola, involved in finance, so there's your financial advice coming from your board. And then you had Annabelle Williams, who I said a moment ago has vast experience in corporate governance in sport. Having a look at the members on the Holman Barnes Group and the remaining members of our board, who covers those skills that we've just lost?
None of them that I know of, absolutely none of them. The skill set is dismal from what I can see and what I can tell. And what have they presided over? The remaining board members in the Holman Barnes Group, what have they presided over apart from ineptitude and failure over a generation? That's all they've done. That's all they know is failure. They've done nothing. They've achieved nothing. They've ripped the joint apart before. They brought the club to its knees. You know, we know that previous operational managers at West Tigers struggled to get anything done because every time they tried to make a decision. There was governance interference by these HBG people that don't have the experience, don't have the intelligence, and most importantly, they don't have the desire. They're not looking towards achieving the goal that the rest of us so desperately want.
And we talk regularly on a number of different podcasts, Steve, about attention to detail and striving for excellence. Do these guys, have you seen any examples of these guys achieving that?
There is no striving of excellence. They're amateur in everything they do. We finally have a club going in the right direction with the right people, making all the right decisions and doing all the right things, and it's obvious on the field and off the field. We're not just talking about this. This is not just anecdotal. Like there is hard evidence here to show that this club is improving, and in their absolute stupidity and arrogance and selfish desire, they've ripped that apart. There are thousands and thousands of comments on social media, and we'll get to this right now, that talk about how angry, disappointed and fed up West Tigers members and fans are with this Holman Barnes group that masquerade as some sort of professional organisation. And it's only 20 or so idiots who follow them and put out their garbage on social media.
And you talk about that experience or that evidence, not experience, evidence that our club is starting to turn around, starting to go in the right direction. But there's evidence of the Holman Barnes group totally bottling this club for the last 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as I said, they've presided over a disaster. You know, like we got the spoon 3 years in a row. We haven't turned a profit in how many years? And the minute we got the right people in, the minute that we had the petition, which led to the Crawford Barney review, and then that was implemented, and those strategies put into place, and the right people were there to implement those strategies, we immediately saw turnaround. Not. Well, we're hoping to see it down the track,
and not gradual.
Not gradual. It happened. It was instant. It was remarkable, the change. You know, and okay, we didn't make the top 8, but gee, we came a long way from last. And we're trending towards the top 8, I would say, and all of a sudden, gone.
Now, I'm sure this is confusing for a lot of just general West Tigers fans, people who are just fans of the club, not really understanding how this club is set up and the structure around this club. And it is difficult. It is really confusing. We might have a little bit of a chat around that structure of the club now. Basically, we're at the point with the West Tigers where the West Tigers is 90% owned by the Holman Barnes Group and the West Magpies. The other 10% is held by Balmain. The Holman Barnes Group has control of the West Magpies, who they share the 90% in. So in all effects and practices, the Holman Barnes Group controls 90% of the West Tigers. That group, now, and I want to distinguish here, it's the group. It's not the board members. It's not Denny Burgess. It's the group that owns the West Tigers, not those directors, not those guys that have come out this week and dismissed the West Tigers board, which is a separate board. So the big process we went through with the review was we got an independent board that was separated from the Holman Barnes Group. That was to limit the effect of the Holman Barnes Group's infighting and dysfunctionality from having an impact on the West Tigers. And it was working. That's what was removed this week. The separation and the buffer between the West Tigers and the dysfunction of the ownership group has been removed. So that dysfunction now will be affecting the West Tigers.
Well, absolutely it will. And, you know, we were at West Tigers today and we know that already, you know, there's a negativity around the place that wasn't there a few days ago. There's uncertainty and despair and worry and concern. People aren't sure what's going to happen whether you're working for the organisation or whether you're a fan like us that just follow it.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question that I actually had for Gary Barnier. So you're going to have to channel Gary Barnier a little bit. Big shoes to fill.
It's a bit of a letdown.
Big
Sorry,
shoes
folks.
to fill, Steve.
I've got more hair.
But I wanted to ask Gary why it's so important for the West Tigers to have those independent board members and why it is such a big issue they've been removed.
Well, I think it's important to have independence because you want transparency, right? Like you want people that want the best for West Tigers. Like we are West Tigers. And by independence, imagine you're saying not solely tied to the Balmain Tigers, not solely tied to the Western Suburbs Magpies, but with a true interest in the growth of the West Tigers organisation. That is true independence. People that can think clearly, that don't have an agenda that takes them away from the number one goal, and that's to make the West Tigers the best rugby league franchise in the NRL. Now, when you have an agenda that is different to that or clouds that purpose, then you're not going to be doing your job.
Now, I want to also talk about, and you have briefly touched on it already, Steve, some of the successes that this independent board and this change of governance structure has had over the past 18 months since we saw the start of the implementation of these recommendations from the review.
Yeah, so I wrote a bit of a list about it for key achievements, and I have touched on it when I started to rant. I'm sorry I'm ranting, but it's emotional. It's very emotional. On-field performance, that's a tick. It's not where we want it to be, and we ended the season probably poorly.
And that end of the season, that poor end of the season, probably tapers off what the feeling would be heading into the next season if we had won that Cowboys and Titans game.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I also think we saw enough, and when we look at our squad for 26, there's enough there to say, we're training up. I think you, for the first time in, 25 years, actually think the Tigers are going to make the 8. Is that correct?
I think,
or were you saving that till next year?
Until Monday, I thought we were making the 8.
Yeah, until Monday, that's right. So on-field performance is one. Recruitment and retention. We are recruiting quality players to the club that actually care about the club. Like, look at Royce Hunt. Look what he's done in the off-season. Now, at the back end of last year, for whatever reason, he lost his spot in first grade. Whether that was through injury, poor form, we don't know. But he lost his spot. That guy has ripped off the kilos. He looks absolutely raring to go. I just wonder whether that 110% effort that he's put in, I wonder if the shine's just gone off that a little bit. You only need 5% drop in attitude, which is going to affect performance, and all of a sudden you're not quite as good as you were going to be. Like that guy's raring to go. And he's, we've got our Jerome Luai, who everyone around the club just adores and follows. We've got quality recruitment, and we're retaining players. It's been rumoured that we were this close to finalising the Luai deal and the Buller deal. So the retention is also really good, or was, because the rumour also now, thanks Holman Barnes Group, that those two deals have been put back. So that was happening. The rebuilding of the Southwest. There's been a bit of friction between West Tigers and Southwestern Sydney, but there's new West Tigers
Academy opened up last week, mate.
Yeah,
last week.
Like they're rebuilding relationships in the Southwest. They're making the Southwest connection meaningful. Financial gain. For the first time in years, we're turning a profit. So there's financial gain. The stadium strategy is in place.
And not just a strategy to go back to the traditional grounds, which is what we've had before, to go back to upgraded grounds.
Yeah, like Leichhardt Oval, I get it. How did he pull off the Campbelltown funding? I don't know, but he did. Right, so we've got funding for 2 grounds. That's happening. And the other thing, which is not measurable, but the club just seems more efficient. I know there is a better feel around the club. I know they're all working together. I know they believe in what they're doing and they believe in Richo and they want to do the right thing by him. That's what's improved, mate. Where is it now? Who knows?
So Daniel Payton, the new CEO of the Holman Barnes Group, came out and released a video, a press release on Monday, stating the reasons why these changes had to be made. So on Monday, the Holman Barnes Group Chief Executive, Daniel Payton, said the club owners had been left out of the loop on commercial announcements, this happening less than a year after the restructure of that board. Now, when I look at the West Tigers board that we had on Sunday, there's 2 board members from the Holman Barnes Group on the West Tigers board. How can there be a lack of communication?
There can't be, unless they're asleep at the wheel. Unless they're not listening, or unless the CEO's not telling the truth. I don't know. I don't know whether he is or not, but it just seems inconceivable that would be possible. Barry O'Farrell has come out and said he doesn't understand how that could be possible. It's just my opinion, but it seems to me that they're just looking for excuses.
And you and I had a little bit of involvement with the review.
Yep.
Those ownership group board positions were put on there so that the ownership groups, both the 3 of them, the Holman Barnes Group, the West Magpies, and the Balmain Tigers, had oversight on that board.
Oversight and fair representation.
And that's why those positions are there. So this comment to me makes 0 sense.
Like Danny Burgess, is the chair of Holman Barnes Group. Like that's another issue. That's a good one that's worth investigating, I suppose. But Danny Burgess is the actual chair of Holman Barnes Group, and he sits as he's the West Magpies representative.
He's the West Magpies representative. It's a
the
little
Tigers
confusing,
board,
that. But he's also...
So how does he not know what's going on? Like, unless the guy is absolutely stupid, how does he know what's going on? How does he not know what's going on?
So there's rumours around what those commercial announcements were. The first one is the New Jersey, that the Holman Barnes Group did not see the New Jersey and are not happy with the New Jersey.
So this has been out on social media a fair bit. The last 4 years, the jersey is predominantly black with a white V and a bit of orange in it. Yep. Last 4 years, the home jersey. This year, so 20% of the time over the last 5 years, this coming year's jersey was going to be orange, and they don't think that's fair. That again, it's petty, it's immature, it's ludicrous, it's school child stuff. It's what you'd expect from an 8-year-old throwing their toys out of a cot.
Now, the other one that's been floating around is the stadium policy, that the Holman Barnes Group aren't happy with the stadium policy. Now, part of that I could understand. They're a group that's based primarily in the inner west. The stadium policy moving forward will be that the majority of games are played at Campbelltown, which is a fair way away from their area. But the key part for me is one of the strategic directions in our strategic plan is to re-engage with the Southwest. Now, how is this news to anyone that the West Tigers are going to be prioritising that area?
So the stadium strategy is in the strategic plan,
correct,
as you just mentioned. And I would imagine, and I don't know this, so I can't comment too deeply on it, but I would imagine that the Holman Barnes Group would have been notified of the strategic plan. If they didn't put it together, it would have gone across the table for ratification. So
and we've seen it. Everyone's seen it. It's
seen
a public document.
Yeah, but before it was ratified, surely Holman Barnes would have had a say in it and signed off on it. So I don't understand why they're not happy with something now that they would have had an input in through the development stage of that strategic plan. That just doesn't make sense. And corporate governance just doesn't work like that. So I don't know. To me, it doesn't. Something's not adding up here.
So you spoke about Barry O'Farrell. He came out on Tuesday morning and was interviewed on ABC Radio. A couple of his quotes here. For reasons I suspect relate to antics within the Holman Barnes group and the desire for people to get to the top there, we've had another brain fart affecting our club. A year ago, they replaced their chair, Julie Ramiro, after the best returns the Holman Barnes group had ever received. And here we are, a year later, they're replacing the board of the West Tigers at a time when on all indices, for the first time in many years, we've done well. Now, I actually want to go further than what Barry O'Farrell said. He spoke about the removal of Julie Ramiro. The Holman Barnes Group, over the last 18 months, has removed 8 directors, including 3 chairs. So 2 chairs from the Holman Barnes Group and Barry O'Farrell, the chair of the West Tigers, across 2 boards. They've also replaced the CEO. Steve, the question I have for you, does this show continual dysfunction at the Holman Barnes Group?
Absolutely. It's governance incompetence 101. Yeah, they are providing an environment that has absolutely no stability at the governance level. How can your senior operational managers effectively manage when above them, the people they answer to, the people that they are seeking guidance off, constantly change and have different agendas and views and priorities? Now, mate, for a long time, I felt that there's something not quite right with Holman Barnes. And my love of the West Tigers and my love of the club and my desire to see the club do well, just like every fan out there, has meant that I've put to the back of my mind that there are sinister agendas at play. But it's become increasingly obvious, in my opinion, that there are agendas at the Holman Barnes Group level that are different to what the rest of us want.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Steve.
Yeah.
You're saying there's agendas from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
What do you think those agendas are?
That they want the West Magpies to return to the NRL at the expense of the Tigers brand. That's what I believe. I can't prove that. I can't state categorically that that's true, but that's what I believe.
And I'm not going to put words into Gary Barnia's mouth, but he was quoted in a newspaper article yesterday saying the same thing.
And it's ridiculous, Gary. It's absolutely ridiculous. Let's just look at it. We are, and we'll get into this later, but we are calling for the NRL to put an administrator in place to remove governance power from Holman Barnes Group on a temporary basis until the West Tigers is actually operating at a true independent regime, I suppose. Now, when an administrator comes in and then makes changes, at some point they will hand it back to the owners, but only if the owners agree to the recommendations and the changes that have been made. So there's every possibility at that point that the Holman Barnes Group say, no, we don't agree to that. So at that point, the NRL could revoke their licence. Okay, the West Tigers, as we know it, could cease to exist. But if that happened, there is no way that they're then going to turn around and say, oh, but we'll give it back to you and you can call yourself the West Magpies. That's just, like, it's absurd. It's just not going to happen. Now, what could happen is someone else comes in, buys the club, the license is given to them, and West Tigers just continues. That would be the outcome, right?
And it's not out of the realms of possibility that the NRL set it up themselves to run.
That could happen as well. Maybe not forever, but for a period, right? But there is no way the Magpies are going to return to the NRL. Now, aren't we past this? Like who cares? We're West Tigers. Like most people, half the people that support the club have never heard or never been intimately involved in Balmain or Western Suburbs Magpies. I was Balmain. You were Balmain. Gary Barnier was Magpies. Kelly Hollis, our good friend from Ambush, she was Magpies. We couldn't care less. We're West Tigers. It's what we are. I don't want to be Balmain. I'd hate to be Balmain. We've had West Tigers the last 25 years. Like, it's just so ridiculous. But I do believe that's what the agenda is.
And there's a lot of rhetoric on social media at the moment trying to paint this as a Balmain versus Western Suburbs issue.
Mm.
It's not a Balmain versus Western Suburbs issue. It is a what's best for the West Tigers issue.
Absolutely. And sadly, in a few but very loud voiced people, that is the agenda. It is a Balmain versus Western Suburbs Magpies thing. There's not many of them left, but there are a few. And sadly, some of those people sit in high positions on the Holman Barnes Group board, you know, and their desire, you know, like I wasn't at this game, but I was told, and I believe it, but secondhand information, that it was a game at Campbelltown, and the person who told me this was sitting in the box next to the Holman Barnes box, and the Tigers chant went up. You know, the Tigers, right? That the chant went up. The Holman Barnes box were chanting Magpies. Clap, clap, clap. Now, firstly, as the owners of the club, if you had any intelligence whatsoever, and that intelligence wasn't tainted by free alcohol, that you would think, that's a pretty bad look for me to do that, so I won't do it. But that didn't stop them from chanting Magpies, Magpies, when the other 10,000 people in the crowd were chanting Tigers. That's the mentality we're dealing with, Gary.
Look, and I'm very reluctant to raise the name I'm about to raise, because he was part of the problem and not part of the solution, which we're going to talk about soon. But Lee Hedgeman-Tellis came out and said he has been told by Magpies board members that they want to return to the Magpies.
Yeah. I read the article that came from Lee's work on SEN, I think it is.
Yeah, it's SEN.
And like he was quite level-headed, right? He wasn't sticking the boot in as he sort of has been the last little while. He was quite open and fair, I thought.
And I'm very reluctant to say this, but sounded like a supporter.
Yeah, he did. Because I think, like, he's been at the chair, right? And we were all fed up with some of his antics, absolutely. But he has walked the walk. He has sat in the chair, right? And so I think he's felt the frustration as well. And therefore he has the ability to empathise with the current situation.
So the NRL has come out with a response. Peter Volantes came out yesterday, Tuesday, yes, that's correct, and said the NRL will investigate, which Barry O'Farrell had kind of hinted at in his interview on the ABC. And he said, we are there for the fan and we're going to protect West Tigers fans, Volantes said. The people making these decisions must understand West Tigers fans are paramount, not politics.
Mm.
Do you think an investigation goes far enough?
Mate, like spring rolls at a Chinese banquet, it's a good start. And that's about it. Investigation, fantastic. Go for it. You need to go through due process. It needs to happen. So, yeah, investigate. And I think the NRL will investigate. What we've got to hope is that what they can uncover and prove is that there are agendas contrary to developing rugby league and putting rugby league number one.
And for me, in addition to that investigation, while it happens, I don't want the whole Holman Barnes Group making decisions for our club.
No.
So that's why we're pushing for that administrator, because they've shown that they can't make the right decisions. And we've got a CEO sitting there who has my full support. I know he has your full support and has the full support of the majority of our fan base. And I'm really worried this is going to be the catalyst for Shane Richardson to walk away from our club.
Yeah, it's a huge possibility. You know, like what we've all learned, all of us who watch the TV and jump on our phones and look at all the socials and the newspaper articles, etc. You can't believe everything that's out there, and you can't get carried away with the hyperbole and the hysteria that happens. But you know, the word out there is that Shane Richardson is reviewing his position at West Tigers, that he's got in his contract a get out clause where he would walk away well off. You know, he was very smart to put that in, a bit like Jerome Luai, really. So there's absolutely a concern that might happen. You know, my hope is that the guy is so tenacious and so determined and stubborn that he decides to stay. And Richo, if you're listening, mate, we need you to stay like never before. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of West Tigers fans out there right now that want you to stay.
Our club needs you.
Yeah, our club needs you big time.
Now, in regards to us needing him, are you concerned about the future of our club right now?
Yeah, I'm very concerned about the future, because a future under Holman Barnes is going to be massively dysfunctional. Their history shows that they are totally incompetent and that they run clubs into the ground. Now, they might run Leeds clubs really well. I don't know. I don't know the first thing about it.
But you know what? They're running most of their income at the Holman Barnes Group comes in the form of pokies.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much skill it takes to get someone to walk and put $1 into a poker machine. I have no idea, but they're obviously very good at that because they do turn a profit. So good luck to them. But in running a rugby league club, they stink. And their desire to sit on top of the club and rule from above in their corporate lounges, with their agendas being what they are, it's scary. It's scary because we will not attract good players. We will not attract good administrators. People will leave the club. Membership will plummet. And the club, it won't cease to exist. The West Tigers will continue to exist, but it'll be a dismal failure. So that really, really scares me. We need change, and that's why we're saying what we're saying, that we need to push and push and push for the NRL to act on this, and they've said they're going to act, but investigate and go further than that and bring in an administrator and just get rid of the incompetence that is presiding over us at the moment.
And my concern over the next 2 months is Shane Richardson has said that he didn't want to work at the club if there wasn't an independent board in place. My concern is he walks out the door. Jerome Luai has clauses in his contract, and he looks like a genius having those clauses in there now. And I'm concerned that these changes in the club, this instability in the club, he's come from Penrith, that is probably the most stable club at this point in time in the competition. My concern is he activates one of those clauses and leaves. Jerome Bulli, our great up-and-coming fullback, is currently negotiating a contract extension that was apparently just about over the line. These are all things in the next 2 months that could unfold and would have massive negative repercussions on our club.
And we thought Lachlan Galvin was bad. That situation. That's nothing compared to this.
I'm not saying that these are possibilities, but these people have these clauses in their contract for a reason. And if I was signing a multi-year contract at a club like the West Tigers, with the history of instability that we have, I would have clauses in there like that. And all we've done over the past 2 days is show that we're still an incredibly unstable club.
Yeah, and it's really important to mention and to encourage all the West Tigers fans to understand this, that we are pointing the finger directly
this is huge
at Holman Barnes. Denny Burgess, we're pointing the finger at you and the rest of your board at Holman Barnes, or what's left of the board. We are not in any way, shape or form talking about anyone who's involved with playing at West Tigers, coaching at West Tigers, or operating the business of West Tigers. Those guys, players, coaches, staff, managers, at an operational level, work their guts out.
And have started to turn our club around.
And have started to turn our club around and are doing an exceptional job. All of them. Working together as a team, united, going forward. So we're not pointing the finger at them. And if any of you guys are listening, we're not pointing the finger at you.
We support you.
We support you and we look up to you and we thank you for the great work you do. But to the Holman Barnes group, headed by the esteemed Denny Burgess, we're pointing the finger at you directly.
Steve, you and I often talk about being part of the solution, not part of the problem. Can you tell me a little bit about how we're making an attempt to be part of the solution over the last couple of days?
Yeah, so yourself and myself and Kelly, we're part of the Ambush, which is a supporter group. A lot of people would know about the Ambush. We run game day functions. And, yep, that's our mantra, isn't it? To be part of the solution, not part of the problem, give a good game day experience to fans. So we thought, well, what can we do? What can we do to help West Tigers and do something proactive rather than just be negative? So what we did, it's only 24 hours ago, really. It seems like a lot longer, but 24 hours, 36 hours ago.
Seems like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. We reached out to everyone that we knew that created any sort of content for West Tigers. And then they reached out to people that they knew, that people that created content. And we reformed West Tigers Fans Unite, which is similar to our West Tigers Unite that we formed when the Crawford Barnier review was on. And so I'll just read out. Is that all right? I'll read out who we've got. So there's the Ambush crew, which is us, and then we've got Claws Out podcast, again us. We've got the Tiger Town podcast guys, West Tigers Faithful podcast, West Tigers podcast, Joel and the crew. We've got Tiger Kids podcast. We've got the NRL Fanatic, West Tigers Forum, the West Tigers Fan Representative Group, the Plain It Simple podcast, Speak Free with Matty G, Shack TV, Tigercast, All Things West Tigers, Everything West Tigers, Silly Sania, Pick of Tigers each day until the finals, I think that is.
That's correct.
We have the Save Leichhardt Oval Group. We have Depressed Tigers Fan, Oz Sideline, Morts Rugby League. I should have read these before.
It's like roll call at school.
Well, there's only one more. I should have finished. Didn't have to say it. Tui's Media. That's a lot of West Tigers affiliated groups that all agreed to jump on board with this. So what we did, we then sat down, we wrote a press statement, which you can find on all those socials. And the press statement was basically encouraging all West Tigers fans and members and fans of rugby league. That's important to recognise, not just West Tigers fans. You know, this is like the old South situation where we've actually had fan groups from other clubs contact us and say they want to lend their support. And so we contacted all of them. We wrote the press release, and the press release basically said, encouraging all the fans to write an email to the NRL, and we've given 4 email addresses, and I won't read them out here, but they're on all the socials. You can find it anywhere. Send an email to the NRL requesting that the NRL remove the Holman Barnes Group board from governing the West Tigers and put in place an administrator while they investigate what's going on at West Tigers, eventually getting rid of Holman Barnes Group forever. That's what we want. And we've also stipulated that as fans, we've had enough, and if that doesn't happen, we'll walk away and we're done, which would be absolutely mortifying. But crazy actions sometimes require crazy strategies.
Now, we've also been liaising with Darcy Burns, the Inner West mayor. He's got a plan coming up as well.
Yep, so that's on the 13th of December. He's organised a rally at Pratton Park at 10:30 a.m. and we need not just hundreds, but we need thousands. We need to be ambitious. We need thousands of West Tigers supporters, rugby league supporters, supporters of sport, supporters of all things good, people that have values and morals. We need that people who support good governance, anyone, to come to Pratton Park on the 13th of December at 10:30 a.m. for a rally to save West Tigers. And we're going to march down to West Ashfield and we're going to demand the Holman Barnes Group board resign en masse. Thousands we need, thousands. If you got something on, cancel it.
Yeah, if your daughter's getting married, tell her to elope.
I knew I shouldn't have given you that line. Very good.
But yeah, it's really important. This is our chance to have our voice heard. This is our chance to tell the NRL that we're fed up with what's happening at our club. It's our chance to tell the Holman Barnes Group we're fed up with how they're acting at our club. Please email the NRL. You can find the email addresses, as Steve said, on any of those pages. Get onto as many of those pages as you can. Share, like, comment on what they're putting out there. Let's get some traction on this. Let's get as many people involved because I'll be really honest with you. We're in a fight for our club right now.
Absolutely we are. This is, it's not, one, it's not going away, and two, it's deadly serious. You know, don't be apathetic about this. Don't feel that when you wake up tomorrow it's all going to be better, because it's not. Because there are hidden agendas at work, and we need to be proactive in doing all we can to rescue our club.
And Danny Burgess and your cronies on the board and the debenture holders of the Holman Barnes Group, I have a message for you. I hope you see this. I'm sure someone will show it to you. This is our club. It is not your club. A $100 debenture holder seat does not give you ownership of the West Tigers. You are a custodian of the West Tigers. You are meant to be there for the betterment of the West Tigers. You're meant to be there to support our club and give us a club to be proud of. You have failed. You can no longer hide behind that debenture system. We are coming for our club. We want our club back. You have run it into the ground for long enough. The Holman Barnes Group, you are unfit to hold the NRL license. And we are going to fight and push for that to be removed from you. All fair and reasonable West Tigers members and fans are coming for you. We will stand with Barry O'Farrell and the SAC directors. We stand with the players and staff who are turning our club around, and we are going to fight for our club. This is our club. It is not your club. You are not turning it into a reminder of your heyday when you were some rock star. This is our club, and we are claiming it back. I urge all West Tigers fans, please get involved. Promote, take part. The future is dependent on your actions. Don't let these people take your club. Steve, before we finish up, is there anything else you want to add?
No, apart from saying that was extremely well said, and everything you said, I'd like to echo, and I'll just repeat what I said a few minutes ago. Guys, don't be apathetic. don't think this is just going to go away. It needs action. It needs proactivity. It needs us to take a stand and do whatever we have to do to save our club.
Steve, thank you for coming across tonight. I do apologise to people again that Gary Barney wasn't able to attend. We will look at trying to do something with him in the coming weeks. Darcy Byrne, we're lining up to have a chat to as well. I also want to thank Daniel at Mic'd Up Studios for squeezing us in for this emergency podcast, making the studio available for us. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening, and this is our club.
Cheers, guys.